Hello, you are listening to the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio. I'm your host, Catherine Carrigan, medical intuitive healer and Amazon #1 best-selling author. While you're on the internet, visit my website, catherinecarrigan.com, and also unlimitedenergynow.com, and sign up for my newsletter to find out how you can be healthy naturally. Now, our guest today is Rodiah Dorcely, health coach and creator and founder of thespiritdiet.com. Welcome, Rodiah.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Now, Rodiah, what exactly is the Spirit Diet?
So, the Spirit Diet is a lifestyle health and wellness brand. And within that brand, I'm going to bring to market products and services. And my niche is I'm really into personalized nutrition and using your DNA genetic profile to personalize your wellness treatments. So a lot of the products and the services that I'll be bringing to the marketplace are in the personalized nutrition arena. But overall, the Spirit Diet started as my way of getting my 20 years of experience out into the world. So that's why I say it's a lifestyle health and wellness brand. It's more about how to make it a lifestyle, how to make living healthy a lifestyle as opposed to a fad, because there's a lot of fad stuff going on, which is cool right now. But the importance is that it become something long-term so that you can benefit from it and your family can benefit from it, not just so you can look cool in pictures on Instagram or, whatever people do these days. No judgment.
So, Rodiah, what are the 4 pillars of the Spirit Diet?
So there's actually, because there's 2 in each pillar of the Spirit Diet, but we like to focus on sex and spirituality. I can't remember them off top, but it's health. It's your mind, your body, your relationships, and then your sexuality. And then I break it down into it's 4, but it's 2 in each, so it's really 8. And that encompasses everything, because for 20 years, since I was 19, I lived like this very healthy life, really cognizant about everything I put in my body, on my body. And then the last 4 years of my life, I suffered a personal tragedy. And I realized that when you don't have the connectivity with your mind and your body, it doesn't matter how you can be the most vegan on the planet. And being a vegan didn't make me healthy when my spirit suffered. And so basically those pillars are everything that encompasses health and wellness outside of what we normally think, which is just the food we eat. And now it's starting to expand where people know it's like being mindful and self-love, but sometimes I feel a lot of words, and we have to actually strip it down into the actual healing and the actual living healthy and not just like moving through it. So my own experience brought me to that understanding that I always knew mind, body, and spirit go together. But until I was here taking the herbs, doing the Sheilaji, doing the detoxing, and still feeling unhealthy in my spirit, that I realized how connected it was, So the 4 pillars are literally everything from your relationships, your sexuality, your spirituality. It doesn't have to be in a specific God. It has to be some kind of faith in something. And when you have all of those things kind of in alignment, you have overall well-being, which is more important than being skinny or being vegan or having some kind of label, in my humble opinion.
Now, your approach, Rodiah, is very interesting, because when I do a medical intuitive reading, I read the physical body, and we know what that is. I read the energy body, which includes the chakras, the breath, and the acupuncture system. I read the emotional body, which is the largest part of anybody, and emotions can shut down any process. And like you mentioned, you could be eating healthy but not have your emotions balanced. I read the mental body, what are your thoughts and beliefs, what's holding you back, and then finally your spiritual body and what's going on in the eternal part of you. And then I make recommendations in each of those 5 areas. So our approaches are very much aligned. Now, I know that you've not eaten meat for a very long time. And, you know, different approaches work for different people. How old were you when you stopped eating meat?
I was 19. And but my whole life they have me on video. Actually, my dad, he was known for frying chicken wings really good. He had the deep fryer in the backyard, and they actually have me on video, and he offers me one, and I'm like, oh no, I'm a vegetarian. And I would go back and forth with that, and my mom would be like, okay, vegetarian, finish your food. And then, you know, like, okay, Miss Vegetarian, I'm gonna need you to finish your food, you know. And when I moved out, I moved in to live with my boyfriend, who's my husband now, and I had to clean a whole chicken for him. And it was just like, I had watched my mom do it years. I probably had helped her throughout the years do it. But when I had to actually do it myself, and I kind of looked in the bird and I was looking for the bag of parts and I didn't see it. So I called my mom and I was like, hey, I'm about to try to cook this little chicken, but there's no bag of parts. And she was like, well, sometimes they leave the parts attached. You just stick your hand in there and pull them out. And I was like, what exactly am I pulling out? She's like, you know, the heart, the liver, and she started rattling. She's like the neck, and she's rattling off these like organs. And I was just like, oh no, yeah, no, I'm not. I'm out. I'm done. This is too much. And I put the bird in the sink, and I walked away from the whole meat eating situation. I will say this though, because I do believe bio-individuality plays a part in nutrition. So your bio makeup. And that could be based on, you know, where your family's from. So like they have, if you look at blood typing diet, there's blood typing diet. So I think a vegan diet works for me. If you look at my blood type, it goes with my blood type. I do think that diets that have a lot of excess meat or dairy products or animal byproducts are unhealthy. But what I learned through my own experience and my own journey these last 4 years is I was that person at the barbecues, at the parties, like, you know, red meat causes colorectal. You know, I was that person. And, you know, I was able to help a lot of people, but it wasn't until I had to experience meat and eating unhealthy weren't my places where I struggled. I was able to give up meat and walk away from that. But when I had other struggles where I was like, oh my God, you know, like more like mental stuff or emotional stuff, that's when I realized how much you have to respect where someone is at with it. So I always tell my clients, meet yourself where you're at with it, and then I'll meet you there. Don't try to come. I've been doing this for 20 years. Don't try to come. You know, everybody I speak to is always like, all they eat steamed vegetables. Oh, all I ate today was steamed vegetables, a sweet potato. And I'm like, no, you didn't. That's not what you ate. You know, because they sometimes feel like they have to tell me what they think I want to hear, you know? So I always say, so I heard you in the beginning when you said everything works for everybody. I do advocate a plant-based diet. The Spirit Diet is a vegan company, but I respect wherever anybody is on their journey in terms of finding what health and wellness means to them. You know what I mean? I respect what it means, whatever it means to you. We may have difference of opinions, and definitely if I think I know something you're doing is detrimental, I'll share that information if you ask, but like I respect what everybody does. I really do.
And Rodiah, you know, I use a system that has 26 body types. So one of the tenets of natural health is that you are biochemically unique. So there's no body just like you. And there are some body types, according to the system that I use, there are some bodies who are capable of being healthy vegetarians and others who are not. And so it's in my professional opinion, based on 25 years full-time experience in natural healing, you've got to figure out, you know, what your body type is. And for example, there's some body types that actually thrive on cow's milk, and for other body types, that's complete poison. So you've got to, you know, really hone in, like you said, on biochemical individuality. Now, Rodiah, are you a vegan?
So so when I gave up meat, it was literally, I just don't want to eat dead animals. I don't understand why everybody else is doing it, but I'm out. People would tell me that I'm, you know, a little black girl in Queens, New York, there are no vegans. There are a few vegetarians, a lot of Jamaicans, Rastas. So the Rastas, I could go to the Jamaican restaurants and get, they call it Ital. Ital is vital. Ital dishes. But for the most part, there was no one that I knew. My husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, his grandfather was vegetarian. But there was no one that was like living or strict or adhering to it. So I had to kind of read my way out of confusion. And it came from an egotistical place, because it came from a place of everyone's telling me I'm going to die. Like literally, they're like, oh, you're going to die. You need protein. You're going to get sick. And I was like, you know what? You're just saying that. You didn't research it. I'm going to research it. And then next time you tell me, I'm going to have all the facts in the world to rebuttal your unresearched opinion. And after 20 years of doing that, it kind of changed, where they were no longer saying, they were actually, hey, Rodiah, I have this. Do you know what I should do about this? Or I'm not feeling so good. Do you know what I should do about this? So I think over time of me being on that, people started to say, oh, this is my friend Rodiah, she's a vegan. Oh, Rodiah's coming, she's a vegan. And then the funny thing is, they made all of these announcements about me being a vegan, and no one would ever have the exact thing that I eat, but they would go out of their way to make fish dishes and all these other things, which was really nice. So I kind of became a vegan from reading and finding out, oh, gelatin, that's the boiled connective tissue of animals. Yeah, I don't want to do that. Oh, I didn't know carmine, they're crushing little beetles to make red food coloring. I don't want to do that. In fact, I don't want to do any food coloring. And little by little, I was moving things out of my diet, but not necessarily from a vegan animal, even though I'm an animal lover. And that was always my thing. Don't wear fur. I was always like that, but it wasn't this. People started labeling me that, and I kind of accepted the label. And then, so for you, then I was, right? But then these last few years, now that it's like popular, which is really great, because I don't wear the vegan, I mean, it's been 20 years, so I don't need to make the announcements. You can put me in any restaurant, I can figure out how to eat. I know all the appropriate line of questioning to ask. You know, I don't need assistance. But with the enthusiasm of all the new people, you know, I'm getting questioned. I had some faux fur, really cute slippers on, and I was at a restaurant, and the girl said, oh, are you vegetarians? And my sister said, well, vegan. And then I'm just like rolling my eyes in the back of my head, and then the girl looks down at my slippers under the table, and she's like, oh, but aren't those fur? And I was like, oh my God. I was like, can I get my food, please? God bless you. Like, you know, I was just like, I don't want to get into because it's not fur. And even though I was this person that was, you know, I was never that person. You're wrong for wearing fur, or I think I'm better than you. So now I see why over the years people had like this kind of aversion to like vegan people or healthy people, because I'm getting it done to me. And it's like, if anybody should be wagging a finger, it would be me wagging it at you, but nobody should be wagging, you know, like meaning like, I could probably quicker find things that you can improve upon than you're like looking at the aesthetics, slippers, and this, it's like a Instagram thing, a picture. Mm-hmm. So the picture, you see fur, or, you know, I'll go into the store. I went into the store yesterday, I took a yogurt out of the cashew-based yogurt. And my friend's eyes went like this. And I said, it's cashew-based. It's 20 years. You're not going to accidentally see me with dairy-based. You know, and so that's why I don't consider myself a vegan. I feel like if I just separate myself from the whole movement, I think it's a beautiful thing. Donald Watson coined the term in the 70s, him and his 6 friends. And they sat down, they had great intentions. But since then, we've evolved as a people, we've evolved as a culture. It's now encompasses all different types of people from all over the world. It can't just be tofu, because everybody can't have soy. And so I'm breaking up the blanketedness of it with the spirit diet, which is, the tagline is be your own guru.
Okay. So let's talk about soy. And what I really want to talk about is how to be a healthy vegan. Okay. Mm-hmm. Because soy in the United States is not even treated like a food crop.
Right.
It's sprayed with, you know, god-awful chemicals. So the people who are trying to be healthy doing soy, I tell especially women, only eat soy products if you want to have fat thighs and fibroids. You want to have fibroids and fat thighs and eat
hormone balance.
Yeah, and do the soy shakes and the soy protein bars. So let's talk about, first of all, what does it mean to be vegan, and how do you go about being a healthy vegan?
I think the key, I'll start with the healthy vegan. I have a whole report over there that I've been pulling research on. A lot of the meat companies own the vegan companies now. A lot of these big Nestle and these big conglomerate companies now, they're coming in and they're saying, oh, we see that the marketplace is changing, and so we want to be a part. But I'm kind of like, well, then that's how the dairy milk ended up in the almond milk the other day, is cross-contamination, because they really don't care about what we care about. People who are not just trying to be vegan, people who may have, when you spoke earlier about some people can digest milk, other people can't digest milk. When you're dealing with lactose problems, or you can't digest it in your body, people shouldn't be having, you know what I'm saying, like certain things, and it takes the power out of it and making the choice as a consumer. It takes your power away when you can't make an informed decision. So I would say, to be a healthy vegan, the first thing to do is to eat as much living food as possible. And, you know, surprisingly, when I say eat raw or eat living food, people don't know what I mean. They're like, what do you mean raw? And they automatically go to like raw meat, raw eggs, raw. And I'm like, no. Plants, something that spent time in the sun, something that grew from the ground, something that started as a seed and turned into something majestic, like something that carries light and can transfer light. Anything that just, as long as some dude didn't make it in a lab or a factory, have more of the stuff that naturally occurred, that's amazing and majestic, as opposed to like all of this fake meat, right? Like, I don't like look, this may sound crazy, but it's been 20 years, and it wasn't slip-ups because I genuinely didn't like meat. You would think the idea of a hamburger, French fries, and a shake for years was just like the idea of it, because it's like something I couldn't have. I didn't really, potatoes are carcinogenic, you know, milk, the shake had dairy, but it always just like, oh, a burger. So now all these hamburgers that come out that are supposed to be like real meat, you would think that because I had this idea of a meal that I liked for years, that I would get this and I'm like, oh my God, this is so good, right? Because you have all these people that are carnivorous that are getting these bleeding vegan burgers and they're loving them. When I tell you I couldn't even swallow, I couldn't eat, my body closed. It was like, don't. And it didn't even, so like, let's take milk, for instance. Okay, maybe we're not baby cows. Maybe, yeah, they're treating the cows bad on the farm, blah, 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 whatever. But milk is still something that this cow, that's a living thing, is making, so it's still a real food, right? The scary thing for me with the vegan movement is, I don't think we should be factory farming the cows and, you know, blah, 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 right? And yes, some of us can't digest milk, blah, 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 right? But the bigger thing is that we're moving away from real food, and because of this label of vegan, and making it okay to eat fake food under the guise of it's healthy. And I tell people all the time, vegan doesn't mean healthy. It just means you don't eat animals and the derivatives. And so to be a healthy vegan is like, another thing I ask people, not to get like too impassioned, but I always ask people when they're saying like, oh, I'm trying to give up eggs. And I say, why? Oh, because I'm going vegan. Okay, so why are you trying to give up the eggs? Because I'm going vegan. Okay, so why are you trying to give up the eggs? Because you don't eat eggs when you're vegan. I'm like, yeah, but why are you trying to give up eggs if you can't find out why you are doing it intrinsically in your own being, where something shifted or changed, or you haven't, like for me, it was natural. It was like, why are we eating meat? For someone else, it might have to be something that clicks on. For someone else, it might be like, you know what? I feel bad that they're factory farming the animals, but I really like steak. But it has to be what you really, do you know what I mean? Feel. And people aren't connecting to what they really feel. So I would say to be a healthy vegan, and I don't know what it means to be vegan, because I consider myself to be on the spirit diet. But I would say to be a healthy vegan is to get clear on why you want to be a vegan. It shouldn't be because it's popular. It sounds cool. You know, and that's a great thing if that's what's shifting the consciousness right now. But ultimately, you have to be driven by something real, whether it's the animals, you want to live healthier, you want to pass healthier living down to your children, whatever. And that starts with life. You eat life, you get life, you eat death, you get death. And so I think, like, be a healthy vegan, eat life, stay away. The soy, when you said the soy, I thought we were going to get into a whole thing about soy, how it mimics estrogen in the body, how they say that, you know, it's don't get me started with the soy, because I ended up with an endocrine system problem. I ended up with Hashimoto's hypothyroidism. I had an enlarged nodule I had a goiter on my thyroid. They wanted to biopsy and aspirate it while I was awake. My dad flew in, my sister, they came and got me from work. In the interim between the diagnosis and the actual biopsy, I read a book called Natural Cures They Don't Want You to Know About by Kevin Trudeau, who's now being held indefinitely under that Immigration Act. He's being held in jail indefinitely for the information he put in the book. I did everything, got rid of fluoride. His book is what shifted me from just being a vegetarian into understanding that there was more into going into healthy and what they were putting in our food. I got fluoride. I was taking coral calcium. I took fluoride out of my diet. I put a filter on my shower. And when I went back for the biopsy, this is NYU Medical Center, they didn't find a nodule.
That's a wonderful story. Mm-hmm. Now, I want to say, in my practice as a medical intuitive healer, one of the things that I do is I identify food sensitivities. Now, there's a difference between a food allergy and a food sensitivity. To have a food allergy, you have to have an immunoglobulin reaction to a food. So medical doctors can determine food allergies. Food sensitivities, on the other hand, are a little bit different because sometimes foods simply don't agree with your organs. But one thing that I point out to my clients, if you have a lot of food allergies or food sensitivities, that indicates several things. Number one, it indicates that your immune system's suppressed. Yeah. Secondly, you may well be deficient in digestive enzymes. So, for example, to digest cow's milk, you've got to have lactase, right? So there's all these different enzymes that your body needs. So as Rodiah and I both agree on, diet is very unique to you, and it's very much about finding the way of eating that is healthy for you. So again, when I have clients who have, 20, 30 food sensitivities, then I'm going to put them on a gut healing program. One of the big causes is antibiotics. I just talked to a client today who has pneumonia. So she's been prescribed antibiotics. So I was like, all right, well, you're on the antibiotics to treat your pneumonia, but here's some things that you need to do to heal your gut so that you don't develop a bunch of food sensitivities.
Right.
Now,
do you do, not to cut you off, are you using ALCAT test or?
I use kinesiology.
Nice.
Yes, I use kinesiology, and as a medical intuitive when I'm working with clients around the world and I read their body. So again, I'm reading all 5 levels of their body.
Can I ask you one more thing? Are you using the Echo machine?
No, I'm a medical intuitive.
Oh, so what is that? It's all in here?
I have 25 years full-time experience in natural healing, and I'm intuitive, and I have clients all over the world. So
I had somebody took my hair. They had this machine. We're actually putting the machine in my wellness centers because I'm opening. I pitch in a month, and we're going to open them globally. My potential lead investor's dad is a president. Mm-hmm. And so there's a list of Black women. There's only been, I think, 37 Black women ever to receive funding over $1 million from a VC, a venture capitalist, or an angel investor. And he's already helped one of the women that's on that list get on the list. I think he gave like $9 million. She has these soccer balls that turn into lights because they're solar powered. So we use this testing. They plucked my hair. I'm not really sure how it worked. He put it on this disc. He said that it went to Germany. And then he said in an hour, I would have this report. So I was like, this I have to see, because I know that you can do radionics and different kind of healing from far away. But I was like, because they took the hair, and I'm like, and they scanned it on this thing, I'm like, how are you from that? When I tell you the report they gave me back, it was everything that I ever felt I had a natural aversion to. whether it was something that I thought I didn't like, because like you said, I'm not producing antibodies. It's not an allergic response. It's an inflammatory response. But I mean, and then some things were sad, peaches, nectarines, but even within the same families, and it's things that I either, okay, so when you say you offer it to your clients, just to kind of play on that, within my own testing, I usually will put clients on like a elimination diet. So when they gave me this list of all these things I couldn't have, I immediately just took it all out my diet, right? My husband purchased me a drink and I can't have currants, black currants or currants. And I didn't know, and I didn't read the label because he knew what I was avoiding. I thought he had read it. My throat closed up immediately and I turned the bottle around. I was like, oh my God. But I was like, why didn't I notice before? If it was all, and I was like, it was happening, but so many symptoms, so many responses were happening simultaneously that you sometimes don't realize. I had a client tell me once, she didn't realize she was feeling bad until she felt better.
Now, one thing that I tell my clients is that if you're eating something that you're allergic or sensitive to, you could have symptoms for up to 4 days, because it takes an average of 4 days for a food to move through your digestive tract. So a lot of times, like Rodiah says, a lot of times you don't even know what's going on because you're eating multiple foods. You may be eating multiple foods that you're sensitive to. But again, if you have food sensitivities, that goes back to your immune system. It goes back to the mucosal barrier, which is the interior lining of your GI tract. And it means that you can heal that. So what I find as a practitioner, I'm not in favor of extremely strict diets because it's very difficult to avoid 20 foods forever and ever. So I like to heal people's guts so that they can go back to eating a wider variety. Now, Rodiah, what is the spirit diet elimination cleanse?
So that's a cleanse I usually put. It's a elimination diet. I modified it. A lot of my target demographic follows Dr. Sebi as his diet. He has a very strict list. He bases a lot of his stuff on hybrids and different things. I tried to take in, because you could really, if you start talking about like acidic foods, you can really come out with a very restrictive list of about like 3 things. If you could start restricting things for every reason, depending on who, But what I did was, over the past 10 years, I've been coaching, and I would just put people on elimination diet. That was my way. I work with a lab now, cell science system, so I actually do, they can go to Quest Diagnostics, do a blood draw, and they base it, same thing, it's an inflammatory response as opposed to an allergic response. And then I base their diet on that. But prior to working with the lab, I was doing it the old fashioned way, where I would just stop all the foods that could be potentially causing a problem. 14 days, if they can go 4 weeks, I usually say go 4 weeks, but if they can't, go 14 days. And what would happen is people would start to feel so good that it made my job a lot easier, because they would not want to like mess up that feeling good feeling once they started to feel good, that it was easier for them to adhere to whatever diet was their goal. So what the spirit diet elimination diet is it's like a little bit of a prerequisite to the spirit diet. And that's just by like cleaning your body out. You talked about immunity. I always tell people upwards of, 75, 80%, depending on who quotes it, of your immune system resides in your digestive system. If you have digestive issues, you have immunity issues, meaning like your digestion is messed up, you're susceptible. We're on a planet in the universe. You have a beautiful vessel. Anything would love to be housed in this beautiful vessel that repairs itself. It's a great house. Viruses, parasites, bacteria. So you gotta keep that up, because even when you're talking about like, people don't realize you can eat something that has like bacteria, viruses, whatever on it. And then we have the system built in where your immune system will get rid of those things so that they can't get in. But if your immune system's not working and you eat, that's how if you go to a restaurant and some dude didn't wash his hands, technically if you eat it, your immune system takes care of that so you don't get sick. But when you're getting sick, it's because your immune system's overworked. Digestion is the largest, it's the most energy consuming process in the body. So I always start, it's the same kind of like what you do when you say you start with the gut. I start with the gut, but I do it a little different. I start with, because I get them to kind of restrict themselves. I don't believe in restrictive diets before the 4 weeks, because they get so caught up. I noticed that people get so caught up on doing like these diets and doing these things that they will find the motivation. And once they get that, it's really not a trick. It's really, you've just eliminated something that was harming your body. And now, as we reintroduce the foods, we'll be able to more clearly identify what it was, remove that. I took out peaches, eggplants, raisins, whatever was on that list. It changed little things that you may not have noticed, maybe a little stuffy nose or, eye irritation, like my eyelids get puffy. I can now pinpoint it down to what I eat if you pay attention. So it's getting people, the Spirit Diet Elimination Diet is getting people to be mindful. I say like the Spirit Diet's enlightened consumption, mindful consumption. I want people to be mindful before they eat. Turn it over, read what's in it, who made it, what was their intention, why did they make it, was it to harm you, was it to benefit you, like those kind of things.
Okay. Now, one of the things that I find that in the realm of diet, that you can easily develop orthorexia, which is an actual eating disorder, which is fear of eating the wrong thing. So people can, it's like, I can't eat this and I can't eat that and I can't eat this and so on, and they develop literal neuroses. So one of the things I like to do with my clients is I like to be positively focused and talk about what to eat and what builds your health. So Rodiah, in your professional experience, when you're talking to people positively and proactively, can you give us some concrete examples about what you like people to eat in the Spirit Diet?
So again, living foods. So I say, like in the beginning, how you start your day is really important. So I think starting your day with heavy breakfast. And this is a special one for me because my dad would make, he's still alive, he's still here, so I don't want it to sound like that, but when I was growing up, he would make these breakfasts on Sundays. And it would be bacon, eggs, like just these huge breakfasts. And I would go upstairs after we ate and I would silently throw up because I hated bacon. And I remember when I had given up meat for a little bit of time, I would still eat eggs if I went to breakfast with my family, but I would try to hold back so I couldn't smell. And I wasn't really, I just couldn't eat it. So finally I gave it up. And for a while I was really sad because I was like, what am I going to eat for breakfast now? So those emotional attachments and ties to foods or meals, cocktails with friends, drinks with your friends, and those kind of things. I feel like when you start to try to remove those first, I say don't take things out. I do the same thing. I don't give people a list of what they can have. I give them a list of what they shouldn't. So I do crowding out. Let's crowd out all the things that you no longer desire. We're going to crowd them out with the things that you do desire. So the first thing I always start with is breakfast. And that's like, whether it's like, get your routine, and whether it's the lemon water, lime in your water in the morning, if you're doing an herbal tea in the morning, if you get that routine, that's usually where people kind of, I don't want to say mess up, but how you start your day is really important. So if you're starting with coffee and dairy milk, or the creamer that's with all the junk in it, not, and sugary foods, cereals, you're starting your day off wrong. So I always say start with living foods, smoothie, fresh juice for breakfast, and we start there. Let's do that for a week. Let's get your breakfast under control. Let's get you on. Once you get the breakfast under control, then let's move to lunch. Can we do living food again for lunch? There's so many options. You can have you can have wraps. So we put the wraps in, I call them sandwiches, but you put them in collard greens or kale, and we do chickpeas. There's so many things you can do. And then I just do it like that. And then I always say, like, dinner, you're smart, you're an adult, spirit works in you like it works in me. So you can figure it out for dinner. And then I kind of coach them and see, like, what did you have? And then a lot of times they're able to keep within the realm of what they want to do. And even when they feel like they cheat, there's less cognitive dissonance because they've done so well at the other meals or during their snacks and things like that. So my focus, honestly, it used to be super vegan. And my whole thing used to be like vegan. Now my focus is that you really meet yourself where you're at, and then you focus on the things that are really important. Your sleep, your breath, the thoughts you think, water. You can eat all the vegan burgers in the world if you didn't drink any water. So it's the balance of that.
Okay, I'm going to give the audience some suggestions that I do positively, and just real super simple: 5 to 7 servings of fruits and vegetables. What is a serving? Half a cup cooked, 1 cup raw. One of the reasons that I love juicing and smoothies is that you can make juices and smoothies with lots more fruits and vegetables than you can actually chew. So I like my clients to start their day with a juice or smoothie full of organic fruits and vegetables. If you do that and the rest of the day, you falls off the cliff, you get busy, you've had your juice and your smoothie.
Right.
And health nuts, as you know, will argue about which is healthier, juices or smoothies. And smoothies are the healthiest because the phytochemicals are in the fibers. Another thing that I like my clients to do is distilled water. What's the difference between distilled water and regular water? Distilled water doesn't have particles in it, so it actually pulls toxins out of your body and out of your joints. So Alexander Graham Bell cured his own arthritis by drinking distilled water.
Really? I didn't know that. Nice.
Yeah.
I want to ask, what do you think about, let me ask you, just since you mentioned water, because I had someone ask me yesterday, they asked me, what do I feel the best water is? I said, spring or distilled. What do you feel, just real quick, with the alkaline and the Kagan machines, just out of curiosity from your experience?
Again, I don't think people need to drink exclusively distilled water, but especially older people who've got arthritis, any kind of itis, it's going to be toxicity in your joint. And if you drink some of your water, it's distilled water, it's going to help pull those toxins out. So, very, very positive. Now, I know that you also on thespiritdiet.com, you talked about yoga. How does a yoga, and I've personally taught yoga for 23 years. So how does a yoga practice fit into the spirit diet?
So I was fortunate that I was able to maintain my weight because of my diet. And I turned 40 in January. And people usually think I'm young. I took all of that for granted. And then, like I said, these last 4 years were hard. And then being sedentary, sitting and working every day, my body still aesthetically, from people on the outside looking in, looks like, oh, you look young, you're thin, that means healthy. And, and I'm like, oh no, my rum boy is so locked up. And by the way, this hurled nerve is shooting pain down my leg. And so I say all that to say, you have to have movement. You have to have breath, and it can be anything. You have to breathe. You have to, even with, I was stretching my legs recently, my hamstring was so tight, I just kept stretching it. Then finally I researched it. It said, you're not supposed to stretch it. So you got to build strength in it. That what you feel is weakness, and you need to build strength in it, and overstretching it is not really what you need to do. And so yoga is important, any kind of movement. I have a yoga teacher that works with the Spirit Diet, DJ, and we have a fitness guy, iRobot, as well. And they participated in the Be Your Own Guru program. And that was my way of giving people two different means of getting movement and fluidity into their body. I will say with yoga specifically, I've been doing research. Your brain actually changes after being on like a plant-based diet for a while, after exercising for a while, after meditating for at least 10 minutes a day. The way your brain looks when they scan it will actually look different from meditation and mindfulness. And I think that as a society, if people just incorporated, 10 minutes of yoga, 10 minutes of silence, 10 minutes of breath, any one of those practices into their day, if everybody did it, the world would be a different place. So that again goes back into, it's not just food, it's this whole entire thing, this whole entire vessel, and what it takes to keep it. Tight hips are not cute. Tight hips as a woman are not cute. Tight knees are not cute. And I feel like I caught it just before it got to the point where I think a lot of people are, where they feel like it's too late. I'm too old now. My mother does that. I'm old now. And I'm like, you're 60 something, lady. You're so young. And she's like, oh no, I'm too old now. But I get it now, because as I approach 40, I can feel the difference in the body, but it's not necessarily just based solely on the age and the number. It's based on what I've been thinking these last few years, these last few months, how much I've been moving, how much I've been breathing, how much I've been stressed, etc. My face literally looks different from 8 months ago from me being stressed.
Okay, and now I'm 59.
Wow,
so
you look.
I'm 59 and I've taught yoga for 23 years. So one of the things that I will say, I'm big in favor, like you, Rodiah, of movement. And I feel that, again, going back to the basics, 5 to 7 servings of fruits and vegetables, some distilled water, including plants in your diet, and movement at least 30 minutes every day. One of the differences between yoga and regular exercise that a lot of people don't realize, I'm a big fan of Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, and walking. Why are those so important? When you practice yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong, and walking, and I personally teach Qigong and yoga, what those forms of exercise do, I call those energy exercise, and they turn off the stress hormones. So anytime your heart rate goes over 100 beats per minute, if you're going to a spinning class or you're jogging or you're running, your body's secreting cortisol, which is a stress hormone. Cortisol causes inflammation, which causes pain in the body. It makes fat around the midsection. It causes this whole cascade of problems. It suppresses your thyroid. It's the stress hormone. So when you do breath work, I just finished creating an online course on 8 breaths to inner peace. When you do breath work, when you practice yoga, Tai Chi, and Qigong, you're turning off those stress hormones. And because we live in a very stressful society, it's really important, in my opinion, to include some form of movement in, like your diet, to include some forms of movement that turn off those stress hormones, in addition to your weight training, in addition to your walking.
And it helps with digestion too. Whenever I work, I can feel it. It gets just everything moving. You want to keep that. When they did the scan on my neck, they couldn't find, they were showing me, she was like, there was no blood flow going to the thyroid. And she was literally showing me like the line. She's like, look, no blood is flowing there. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, so I should just stand on my head then. I should just get into a yoga pose, right? So then I started Googling. They actually have inversion poses, I believe that's called. They have poses for your thyroid where a lot of them you are inverted, you are upside down, because it's literally getting that blood flowing. So with people who have like problems with their blood not flowing through their legs, or it's movement. Because I sat in this chair at this desk doing the work. I thought I was doing the right thing, right? I overworked myself. I didn't have balance, and I made my body weak from just sitting still.
Yeah.
Not from me up, you know, like just sitting still, not moving. So you have to move. I agree.
Yeah. Well, I published 8 books. It all requires sitting, but I've got it. Yeah. So some of those yoga poses that are going to stimulate your thyroid: shoulder stand, fish pose. And there's a restorative shoulder stand that you can do lying over bolsters and putting your the emphasis on your thyroid gland. So there's ways of bringing the energy flow to your thyroid that even people who are not strong or not yoga practitioners can do. So Rodiah, Dorcely, so any final recommendations for our audience? You know, if you could summarize the spiritdiet.com into a philosophy, what would that be?
Be your own guru. That spirit works in me just like it works in you. That the people that seem like they have it all are just people who they have concerted effort in a specific area where you may not have focus, and we're there to learn from them. They're not there to try to emulate them or be like them. You have the same potentiality to feel well, to live well, to be happy that anybody else has. And it just takes, what I live by now is your trauma may not have been your fault, but your healing is your responsibility. So you could put that for anything. Your disease may not be your fault. It may have been hereditary. You may have caught it, but your healing is your responsibility. And then I'll end on an Alanya quote, and Alanya Van Zan, and it's how you treat yourself is how you treat God. It's a representation of how you treat God is how you treat yourself. So you gotta, if I could leave people on one thing, it's like honor your body. I believe in past lives and all that, so this may not be the only life we got, like there may be other ones, but the fact that you're here now in this moment means something. And so when you don't honor that and respect the house that is provided for your vessel, you kind of do a disservice to God. And so it's not about being a vegan or adopting a title. It's about literally figuring out what it means and what it would take for you to be happy, for you to feel your best, what healthy means to you, what well-being means to you. Find the people that represent and look like that, learn from them, but ultimately be your own guru. Make it work for you, because then you avoid the cognitive dissonance. You're not in a weird competition with anybody, and then you're authentically healing. And through your authentic healing, you're able to heal and help other people. You can't heal and help other people when you're half full. You know, when your cup has to run it over. It can't be, I can't have this much and then go out and heal the world with this much. You know, it has to run over. So fill yourself up. That's what healthy is.
You've been listening to Rodiah Dorcely, health coach, creator and founder of thespiritdiet.com. My name is Catherine Carrigan. I'm the host of the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio, medical intuitive healer, Amazon #1 best-selling author. Visit my website, catherinecarrigan.com, and unlimitedenergynow.com. While you're there, sign up for my newsletter and learn even more about how you can be healthy naturally. And remember, as Rodiah says, when you listen to your soul, you will tune in and find out how you can be healthy naturally. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.